Hey everybody, the Ranter here with another quick review rant thing. So, I just saw the Avengers, and while I have heard that almost everybody else has, I figured I'd give my 2 cents as well, seeing as how it was an amazing movie. Right now I'm going to say that I'm going to try and keep this spoiler-free, but no promises, so if you have not seen the movie yet, you might want to steer clear. Anyway, on to the review. Joss Whedon directed this, and it shows, because I personally think he's a genius. All of the subtle nuances were just there, everything was just right. It seemed like the romantic parts, as few as they were directed downward. Not sure how to say this, but they were directed away. You could tell that there was a spark between Black Widow and Hawkeye, but they didn't dwindle on it because they wanted you to show there's something there, we'll touch on it later if it's important. Of course, Tony Stark and Pepper Potts were together, and they seemed to be happy with each other in a kind of marital fashion. I cannot remember if they are married or not, but it seemed like they were happy with each other. They knew what was going on, they knew exactly how to handle everything. It was shown in a way, they didn't, shove it in your face like a lot of movies nowadays seem to. They just let you know it was there, and let it be. The action, of course. The next part would be the action. It's there, it's prominent, and it's amazing, to be sure. All of these scenes are directed perfectly. There's no lens flare, bloomy crap. There's no stupid explosions every 5 seconds like Michael Bay might have done. By the way, I don't hate Michael Bay, but that's for another time. Everything worked well, because once it got to the action, it ramped up. And it really did well. It had me on the edge of my seat, so to speak. Everything was well directed, and the Avengers worked as a team like you wanted them to. On to the third main element, humor. I've seen I've seen quite a bit of Joss Whedon's other stuff, and his humor stays intact. It's perfectly positioned in all the right places. That might be a bit redundant, but it is. There were plenty of times when I was completely just laughing my ass off because of the quick humor and just the perfect timing. One of the funniest parts was Loki saying, "Don't you understand? I am a god." And Hulk picks him up, chucks him across the room, just beats the hell out of him, walks away and says, "Puny god." I was in hysterics at that point because it just shows the strength of the character. And well, of course, it's the Hulk. You should have known the strength going in. But still, it shows fearlessness, it shows strength, and how truly puny Loki was. But it also shows how well directed the humor was. It was just perfect timing, small nuances, everything. It was great. Another main point would have to be the sad moments. They were very few and far between, but they were powerful when they were there. Once again, large spoiler here, but Agent Phil Coulson dies, and his death, while not entirely in vain, it was very powerful, it was very unexpected, and it had an effect. You may not have cried at that point, but I was very, very close. I did not cry, but I was very close to crying. Another sad moment would be Tony Stark, Iron Man, when he's carrying the nuke and it seems that he might not make it. At that point I had seen spoilers that would prove otherwise, but he did not die, of course, and he made it through. But you were on the edge of your seat. You were very, very afraid for what might happen, seeing as how they'd killed one man who seemed to be a very integral part. It seemed that Joss Whedon was not afraid to kill another. But of course, the sad moments. He calls up Pepper because he doesn't think he's going to make it. And very powerful moment. Like I said, everything was so well directed. All the humor and everything. Amazing, amazing movie. If you have not seen it yet, and you're still watching this, despite the fact I've given away a large amount of the movie, you should still go see it, because it is amazing. I know I keep saying this, but it truly is one of the best movies I have ever seen. I saw this movie in 3D, because at the theater that I went to, there was no other choice. But despite the fact that I usually hate 3D and write it off as a gimmick, it worked well. You didn't really notice it too much, but I think I would have noticed it if it wasn't there. Because everything seemed to work better with the 3D, all the effects. There were a couple of points when I saw it was kind of being blatantly, ooh, stuff is coming at you. But those moments were few and far between, and even then, they blended in a lot better than the old 3D used to. And once again, it just worked well with the movie, with the action-packed nature of the movie. Another thing, everybody who has seen the Marvel movies should be smart enough to not leave before the end of the movie. The movie theater when we went was almost empty. There was another group of 2 people with us. Well, not with us, but in the theater with us. They were stupid. As soon as the credits started rolling, they got up and they left. There was another moment, of course, because anyone who's seen a Marvel movie should know, during the credits, after the credits, there's something. This was another one of those movies. I think Iron Man 2 had this as well, but it was a double secret movie, so there was one in the middle of the credits and there was one at the very, very end. The one at the very, very end was actually kind of comedic for the fact that they did nothing. They were in a divey restaurant, and they just sat around in their civilian clothing, eating burgers. I found it hilarious because, overly long gag. It was just 2 minutes of them sitting there, not talking, not doing anything, just eating. So, if you haven't seen that, when you rewatch the movie, if you go to see the movie, do watch out for that, because, of course, the gags at the end. So, I don't think there's too much else to talk about that I can think of right now. If I do think of more, when I do intend to go see this again, hopefully in 3D again, but if I can think of more to mention, then I will make a second video and I will say everything else that I might have missed. Of course, feel free to comment in the comment section or post video reviews and mention things that I might have missed. Maybe don't go into so much detail so that I can give my personal take, but do as you wish, and I will see you guys later. This is the Ranter, signing off.